Hello, hello. Happy Friday, TGIF in the United Fascist States of America or the United Corporations of America. We could rotate the two interchangeably. Delighted to be joined by the intrepid journalist friend Zaina Day, the author of the Bullhorn Bulletin, which has a great piece out, I believe, yesterday on a progressive, air quotes, progressive consulting firm that's making a whole lot of bank for some questionable characters, including John Fetterman. So we'll get to your great piece a little bit later.
We're in the wrong industry, Jordan.
I realized that a long time ago. While I still have brain cells, let me retweet this so that we get out the Twitter feed. We got a lot to discuss, Zaina. Also, as I'll remind people as they come in throughout the show, we're going to be back on the ground. Well, we are back on the ground. Our reporter, JT Siskowski, is back in Chicago reporting today. He'll be joined by John Farina, our cameraman, tomorrow. So they'll be going live from ongoing protests in Chicago and surrounding areas against Trump's illegal invasion of Chicago. I do not exaggerate. We have basically been there, aside from 4 or 5 days, we've basically been there for a month. You know, John had to go home. He's got a daughter, so obviously can't be away for a month. But John was there for 3 weeks. JT was there for on and off for 2.5 weeks. Now they're going back from Chicago. We don't know because every day is a new disaster and invasion. Trump is kind of floating trial balloons. Oh, maybe I'll go to San Francisco next. He's sending the National Guard to Memphis, maybe New Orleans. We know he's in Portland. So our planning is really by the hour/day. But right now we're going back to Chicago because we feel as hard as it is to be on the ground, it's expensive, as I always tell the audience. I think it's crucial to be on the ground right now because we need eyes and ears on just the escalating fascism engulfing this country. By the madman in the White House. And Zaina, really what I wanted to do today, I think we're not just us, but in this moment, all you could really do as journalists is kind of be reactive and react to the horrible things going on, the insane things going on, the illegal things the immoral things going on by Trump, his accomplices. But I also think it's important to look forward at what seems to be now Trump and his little sycophants openly telling you they're going to rig the 2026 election. And it seems going to try and keep him in power in 2028 against the U.S. Constitution. I mean, they've joked about him running in 2028. But now it's going from joking, which I don't think they were ever joking, to talking about, yeah, we have a plan for that. We'll tell you that in a little bit. And we know they have a Supreme Court that essentially has made the president immune to anything, the Constitution, laws. We know he has a Congress that he can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. They'll just nod along. And honestly, a very weak opposition party. So I want to go through what he is saying and the infrastructure they are building, I think, to either cancel or rig the 2026 elections. And I don't say that lately because there's a lot of tinfoil hats out there who pushed his bullshit 2020 stop the steal stuff, which was never true. There's some on the liberal side who said Kamala really won in 2024, which I don't think is true. But they're openly setting up basically a way to steal the 2026 election or just intimidate enough people into not voting. So we got to get to that. And there's also, I think, alarming. I mean, everything he's doing is alarming, but now he's openly saying, yeah, I could just kill people. I don't need to declare a war. I could just kill people. So without further ado, smash the like button, share this live stream. Again, we'll be live tomorrow in Chicago covering more protests against Trump's ICE invasion. And a public service announcement. I am proud to say, and also tired to say, because myself, Colin, Michelle, our producer, JT, John Farina, we've basically been working 6 or 7 days a week for 2 or 3 months. Well, Colin and I have been working 6 and 7 days a week for about 2 years. But all of us collectively have been working 6, 7 days a week because we've been on the ground covering all this, and it requires a lot of support to get this content out quickly. So I'm happy to report, as we have 8 days left in the month, Zaina, we have grown almost 30,000 YouTube subscribers, which is awesome. Awesome. We are up, I believe, almost 600 paid members, which is the lifeblood of Status Coup. Like, we cannot rely on YouTube. YouTube could get rid of us one day if they so choose. So paid membership is how we survive. And it's also how we afford to be on the ground. So we're going to push more and more people to sign up today if you haven't. And we're going to go through some of our recent on-the-ground clips. But before we do that, Zaina, I want to play. This is not about the elections, but just why I think we really, I don't know if he's a mad king. I don't know if he has delusions of grandeur. I don't know if he's becoming more and more mentally unwell. Colin, if you have the clip, I put it at the top, where Trump said he doesn't think we need to declare war and he could just kill people.
Yeah, this kind of sets the stage and tone.
And Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay? Yeah.
I want to play that one more time. I try not to be dramatic, but I think we should play that one more time, Colin.
How are we going to...
And Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay? Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well, you know, he's blown, 4 ships out of the water now in the Caribbean, which I have a friend that lives there. And she has told me that, you know, there's worries locally about what this means for their commerce, people being afraid to, you know, travel there. And travel is one of their main economic foundations in that region. But on top of that, they let 2 of the people go from, I think it was that submarine that they struck because they couldn't find any charges to pin them with. What he's talking about is extrajudicial murder. No arresting, no trial, just, hey, we think this boat, we just want to strike this boat. And then they strike it and they kill people in the Caribbean or wherever they want. That's not how our judicial system works. That's not how international law works. There is no due process. So what scares me as well is I care what happens to those people in that region, but also what does it look like for us in the future in the United States when he's willing to do extrajudicial murders of people in the ocean and ignore international law? What does it mean for people that are quote unquote thought to do crimes in the United States? Will we be upholding the Constitution over the next 3 years or not?
You know, I always try to, I don't want the viewers, because we always say it would be a lot more profitable if we just ignore one side of the spectrum and just say Republicans evil, Democrats yay. We're not going to do that. I do want to remind you, I mean, under Democratic presidents, we have dropped bombs and drones on weddings to target those we deemed were terrorists.
Yep.
And we just said, well, if their family is there, they're accomplices. Whoever's there must know they're with the terrorists and therefore are guilty. So we also, throughout history, have not, including recent history, have not had, you know, warrants or declared war and have killed a whole lot of innocent people around the world. So this doesn't just start with Trump. With that said, this takes it to a whole new level. this is almost flaunting that we are the judge, jury, and executioner. And to be clear, they're talking about going after the Venezuela, the drug cartels, and he's already killed many innocent people in boats off the coast of Venezuela who they didn't vet who these people were. They didn't first stop the boats to even see if there were drugs on there. But to be clear, if he could say, no, we don't need to declare war on the cartel, i.e. the so-called cartel, which I think is bullshit anyway. They're just using that as a complete smokescreen to kill foreigners. Well, didn't he just declare Antifa, which is not a group? It's not a thing. It's an idea. Didn't he just declare anyone they deem to be part of Antifa as terrorists? So yeah. If he doesn't have to declare war on the so-called drug cartel, by that logic, they don't need to get a warrant to go after so-called Antifa. They don't need to have a crime or even to be in a defensive posture to go and kill someone they deem an Antifa protester. Ken Klippenstein has done the reporting on, off the top of my head, I don't remember the initials. Yeah, NSPM, which they're just declaring whoever they want as terrorists. Well, by this standard and precedent, anyone they deem a terrorist, whether it's the drug cartels or Antifa, climate protesters, who knows, can he just, we don't need to go get a warrant or ask Congress. We'll just kill him. I mean, that is madness. That is literally dictatorships. And honestly, I think there's sadly a not small portion of the country that likes that type of talk.
And tragically, there's a precedent for it because we covered this. Joe Biden, in his broad description of what domestic terrorism was, included anti-American and anti-government sentiment, and utilized that against Stop Cop City protesters in Atlanta and filed RICO charges, filed terrorism charges. We covered that in depth. We were the only one of the only national news agencies, if not the only, that kept on that story long term and really dug into that. Tina Desiree Berg did great work there in Atlanta, but there's a precedent for this. And we didn't get here overnight, sadly, but it's very scary to think of what this means domestically as well.
And I also want to point out, and I said this, I think on the live stream last week, part of stop in a so-called democracy, which, sorry, folks that are crying about democracy being stolen. We haven't had a functioning democracy in a very long time. Long before Trump, by the way. Remember the Princeton study in 2014 that said the U.S. is an oligarchy. It's not a democracy. That's a whole nother topic. So we don't really have a functioning democracy to save, but just the ideals of democracy. If you want to save that, there is a big problem and how dictatorships kind of harden into dictatorships when the judicial systems of a country just disappear. And that's what's happening, because not just the Supreme Court. I criticized the judges overseeing Chicago last week because the Border Patrol, ICE, has disobeyed their orders at least 5 or 6 times. The judge said no more tear gassing of protesters and journalists. They did it the next day, and they've done it since then. No more firing munitions. Grenades, rubber bullets, pepper balls. They continue to do it. They said the judge ordered ICE cannot wear masks anymore. They're still wearing masks. And instead of, holding the head of Border Patrol, top officials at DHS in contempt, which is what you're supposed to do if you disobey a judge's ruling, with a contempt order, you go behind bars. The judge just dragged them into court and kind of gave them a talking to. Explain to me why you're disobeying the order. Like, no, it's not supposed to be that. If they disobey the order, you hold them in contempt and throw them in jail as kind of a deterrent to breaking the law. But that's not happening here. And we already know.
No accountability for anyone in this administration, Jordan.
No, which is why I mean, I don't think he cares, even if the judges actually did something. He obviously thinks, based on his life history, he could get away with anything. But at least maybe the others would care if there was an example set that if you break judges' orders, which his administration has done time and time again. Remember, a judge ruled you could not deport Kilmer Abrego Garcia. They did it anyway. They said, turn around the plane as they were taking those, I think, 200 something undocumented immigrants. What was that to? I forget the country.
El Salvador.
El Salvador. So they've been literally just breaking laws over and over, and there's been no penalty. So that's why you're seeing more of this. Now, as we move forward, and remember to smash that like button, share this live stream. Super chats are appreciated. We're going to go through some of our latest on the ground clips too, and give you our thoughts. Now let's get to the election, because you know, I try not to be an alarmist. I try not to be dramatic for clicks. You know, I'm not one of those people that, you know, there was all those people in his first term constantly. The walls are closing in, Zaina, you know, all those people. His plot with Russia, it's about to be exposed, which I always thought was bullshit. Well, I think it is accurate to say this is a 5-alarm fire, because he's openly, the people he's put in place in top administration, they are openly trying to set the stage to rig the 2026 midterms, and also openly plotting for him to, I don't know if run for office again in 2028 or just ignore
elections.
Ignore elections altogether. Let's play Steve Bannon's interview, because Steve Bannon, when he speaks, he's not freelancing. Like, he knows what he can and cannot say as far as what Trump wants out there. And I believe Trump not like calls him and says, you know, go out there and use this talking point. But when Steve Bannon pushes a message, it's with Trump's blessing. He wants it out there. So this is basically a spokesperson for Trump in a way. He was on some show. They sort of pushed him on how could Trump run again. It's a long clip, but I think we should watch most of it.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me in the last few minutes. On the one hand, you've said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's on his second term already.
At some point in time, we will make sure we go through, Zanny, and define all those terms.
Okay? But even if you find a way to undermine you will be undermining the spirit of that amendment, even if you find some way around it. And to those
Can the American people, if the American people, with the mechanisms that we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution? Would that be tearing up?
Well,
would the American people be going against the spirit of the Constitution, ma'am?
I think yes, actually, because I think what you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship.
That's not true at all. Trump
That's what it sounds like.
Trump is a dictatorship. Did you just see the compromises he had to make on the big, beautiful bill? You see the compromises he has to do on everything, on accommodating Zelensky, on what President Trump. President Trump is nothing but a series of negotiations to kind of keep this thing rolling forward, where he's having trade-offs all the time.
But Steve, you've just spent the last 20 minutes telling me we have to smash the other side. There's no room for debate. There's no room for compromise. We must smash them. And now you're telling me this is a negotiation. I mean, that's
no.
I guess that's why
on his
seems to me some
his
kind
policy.
of tension
First
there.
off, the only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people. Okay? And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. And so I think we're going to be in good hands there. We need to finish what we started. And President Trump is the instrument, a providential instrument to finish this job.
What a load of bullshit.
I just wrote down a couple things here. He says several times, at the appropriate time, there's a plan, and we'll release that at the appropriate time. To be clear, in the big, beautiful bank robbery, the bill that they pushed through, the big, beautiful bank robbery, the gutting of Medicaid, they set that to sink in, to be implemented after the midterms.
Yep.
Now he's talking about, at the appropriate time, we'll release the plan. I think their coup mixed with the worst of their gutting of the minuscule, feeble, weak safety net we have is the day after the midterms if they win. And even if they don't win, I think they're going to try another stop the steal. And this time, he's the president. So if they try another stop the steal, even if the courts stop it, well, they're disobeying courts currently. But it seems to me he's saying after the midterms, we will reveal our plan, whatever that is, to, quote, finish what we started. I don't know what he thinks they started. All they've done is deport people, give tax cuts to rich people, to corporations, terrorize, immigrants, terrorize U.S. citizens who they're detaining, and gut Medicaid, food programs, youth programs. I mean, this is not actual populism. This is not populism. This is fascism.
Let's be clear, Jordan. Some of the things that we're still yet to show in this show today highlights what his plan could be. Highlights what it could be. What was it, about 5 months ago? I interviewed Greg Palast for Status Coup. Do you remember that interview?
Yep.
And Greg was talking about how many people were flushed off voter rolls, particularly by secretaries of state, by Republican secretaries of state. So we're likely to see that again, potential huge purges of voter rolls, and who knows what under what premise. Doge, we covered that, Doge was claiming that there's 80 million migrants on voter rolls, which was found to be completely false, 100% false. And we debunked it right here on air. So they're already telling us what their plans are, and some of what we're covering later today shows what their plans are. They're not really hiding it. He's like, we're going to roll it out, but you have people like Hegseth saying that they can send in troops for anything that they want. So I don't feel like they're exactly hiding the plan. I think they're building up for the plan, just like you suggested, to roll that plan out for midterms, because they're already laying the foundation for it now, and it's not behind the curtain.
Right. And by the way, when he says if it's the will of the American people for Trump to be president, where was he when Hillary Clinton won the popular vote?
Right.
Where was he when the Supreme Court literally stole the election for George W. Bush? I mean, Al Gore, whether you like Al Gore or not, I'm not like a super fan. He got more votes, and he should have won, and he won the Electoral College. They just stopped counting the ballots. Where was he when, I don't know the statistic, but 7 out of 8 or 6 out of the last elections, Democrats have won the popular vote, even when the Republican won. So the will of the people have not been obeyed in this country forever, because it's not the will of the people if you don't have a popular vote election. So
it's called it divine providence, Jordan. So it's divine providence somehow, but also the will of the people.
Yes. And this is why this kind of Christo fascist white Christian supremacy. I mean, this is a lot of religious fucking lunacy kind of talk just being, flooding into the government. And let me tell you something, when Obama was president, if David Axelrod was going around in 2015 saying, 2014. Yeah, after the midterms, we'll discuss, it's not out of the realm that he could run for a third term. Could you fucking imagine what Steve Bannon's response to that would be?
Oh, I know. All they talked about, I was covering Breitbart when I was in college getting my degree in journalism. I even interviewed Steve Bannon for my senior thesis. But all they were talking about was executive overreach, states' rights, executive overreach. I remember when they lost their minds because Obama put basketball goals up near the tennis courts. And they said that he was destroying the face of the White House. And just today, Donald Trump completely tears down the East Wing. And somehow they're legitimizing that. The hypocrisy is staggering. But that was the main talking point of heads like Steve Bannon and Milo Yiannopoulos and Rush Limbaugh in 2014, 2010. Was about executive overreach and states' rights. They claimed that Obama was going to militarize the National Guard. They said that Hillary could potentially bring in the National Guard that Obama would bring in the National Guard to prevent Trump from going into office in 2022 or in 16. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Everything that they're saying, it kind of reminds me of Israel. Every accusation is a confession. Every accusation is a confession from them.
I want to also, because he's starting up again with the 2020 election was stolen and we got to investigate this. And I think this is not just him blowing off steam with his delusions, because it's been reported in private. He's acknowledged he lost. He'll never say that public, but he's acknowledged he lost privately. But he's continuing the con to his supporters and, the public. But I want you to listen to this because he's, again, now kind of talking about we need to have investigations about 2020, this and that, which is part of, I believe, the red carpet to rigging 2026. If we could play that one, Colin.
Or really, I think it's got to be handled in a proper way. If it's not handled in a proper way, we don't want it to happen again. We can never let what happened in the 2020 election happen again. We just can't let that happen. And so the way we go, I know Cash is working on it, everybody's working on it, and certainly Tulsi's working on it. We can't let that happen again to our country. Look at what's happened where you have millions of people being allowed to come into our country, all because of a crooked election, where they come from prisons, they come from jails, they come from mental institutions and insane asylums, they're drug dealers. The people that they've allowed to come into our country, we clean.
So his greatest hits of bullshit. But listen to that. Listen to that, Zaina. I know Cash is working on it. I know Tulsi's working on it. That fucking disgrace, former progressive. Well, if Cash Patel is working on something with elections and Tulsi, I'm sure Stephen Miller's involved. That ain't good. And credit to the New York Times because they did a piece on this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's pretty long. Headline, Trump empowers election deniers still fixated on 2020 grievances. The president has placed proponents of his false claims into government jobs while dismantling systems built to secure voting, raising fears he aims to seize authority over elections and of next year's midterms. Let me read some of it. Election officials from nearly all 50 states gathered on a call last month with the Homeland Security Department's point person on election integrity, eager to hear how the woman filling a newly created Trump position might help safeguard the vote ahead of next year's midterms, but many of them left alarmed. Rather than offering assurances that the federal government's election protection programs would continue uninterrupted, The new official, Heather Honey, instead used portions of the meeting to echo rhetoric that has infused the right-wing election activist movement that emerged since Trump falsely claimed the 2020 defeat was the result of widespread fraud. Honey, a leader in that movement until she was appointed as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Election Integrity, complained that her department's cybersecurity experts tasked with combating misinformation about elections had, quote, strayed from their mission. The remark echoed a widespread view on the right that the agency had sought to silence supporters of Trump's fraud claims. In the past few months, Trump has elevated multiple proponents of his fraud claims into high-level administration jobs. Now, as government insiders, these activists could wield their newfound power to discredit future results or rekindle old claims to argue for a federal intrusion into locally administered voting systems, which is, by the way, already happening. I'll get to that in a minute. On a call with right-wing activists in March before her appointment to the Homeland Security Department, Honey suggested that the new administration could declare a, quote, national emergency and justify dictating new rules to state and local governments. She said it could be based on an actual investigation of the 2020 election if it showed there had been a manipulation of the vote, which is why I just said, Zaina, what he's saying about 2020 is not just to blow off steam. They're basically trying to do bullshit investigations to come up with ridiculous findings to then declare a national emergency and have the federal government seize control of elections, which, by the way, I think the federal government should have control of elections. I don't think we should have different makeshift rules in different states. I've always thought that, but certainly not a dictator. I think it should be far from the actual president in place. It should be an independent agency, and we should have one uniform voting rule for all states. That's my opinion. But what's really troubling about this, they're already doing this. They're already doing this. This is the article, Colin, from Mercury News. Trump's DOJ prepares to send election monitors to California and New Jersey following requests from state GOPs. The Department of Justice is preparing to send federal election observers to California and New Jersey next month, targeting 2 Democratic states holding off-year elections following requests from state Republican parties. The DOJ will announce Friday it's planning to monitor polling sites in Passaic County, New Jersey, and 5 counties in Southern and Central California, LA, Orange, Kern, Riverside, and Fresno. The goal, according to DOJ, is to ensure transparency, ballot security, and compliance with federal law. I'm sure that's the goal. And Gavin Newsom tweeted, "This is not a federal election. The U.S. DOJ has no business or basis to interfere with this election. This is solely about whether California amends our state constitution. This administration has made no secret of its goal to undermine free and fair elections. Deploying these federal forces appears to be an intimidation tactic meant for one thing: suppress the vote." I don't know about you, but we should add something to this. We now have something called artificial intelligence, where fake videos are going around. And I mean, Trump has literally floated fake videos and just as if they're real. So if you have him sending, Banana Republic sycophants to California, Jersey, wherever, and they could just make up, oh, we witnessed, ballot harvesting, or, mysterious trucks at 4 a.m. bringing, millions of ballots, and we witnessed a bunch of Mexicans on the line, or whatever bullshit they come up with, mixed with the power of AI, where they could put out, manipulated deepfake video.
And they can use Sora too now, just completely for free. Just for free, like the movie. I don't know if anyone has seen the movie Mountainhead. This is what it was about. This guy rolled out this new video software, and anyone could create any kind of AI video that they wanted, and it created civil unrest within hours. Yeah, absolutely. And that was a dystopian satire, but that's now the reality. You're absolutely correct.
So I don't think they're telling you the plan. I think they've already initiated the plan. Right. They're already initiating what they're going to do. And I got my problems with J.B. Pritzker, but he seems to be one of the few that I see spelling this out. Colin, if you have the clip, he basically said in a recent interview that Trump's plan is to steal the 2026 election.
There are many Democrats who pointed to Donald Trump before the 24 election, saying he was challenging the integrity of the election by saying almost exactly what you're saying about him now. Why do you think he's going to steal the election?
What I'm telling you is you can just look back in his own history, back to 2020, after the election, when he claimed fraud, he claimed it had been stolen from him. And he and Michael Flynn discussed, and Michael Flynn very publicly talked about, maybe we should use troops and go in and seize the ballot boxes and count the votes. You don't think Donald Trump heard that and thought maybe that's a good idea? And here we are. He's sending troops onto the streets of American cities, into blue states in blue cities, and he's calling it about crime,
and you don't
but
think
that's
by
not at all what
saying
it's
this
about.
now that you are somehow challenging the integrity of the next election?
No, he is challenging the integrity of the
He hasn't
next
said
election,
anything.
but yes, he is challenging the integrity of the next election by sending troops into our cities. That's what I believe this is about. It isn't about fighting crime. He said he's going after the worst of the worst. That is not what they're doing. They are literally going after black and brown people because of the color of their skin.
I don't disagree with him.
He's correct about that. And, I will tell you something about this Heather Honey lady. The types of people that Trump is bringing into this administration. We talked about Project 2025 had this website that, they were just allowing people to sign up, loyalists to sign up for government positions and ringing the alarm bells about that. Well, this Heather Honey lady is a crackpot influencer who did election conspiracy theories and was even found to have done doctored photos, literally doctored photos. She is a crackpot elections researcher. She's not a Greg Palast. She's someone that manufactures her research. She's not a true researcher. She's not a true reporter. She manufactured whatever she could to go along with the January 6th taglines about a stolen election. And then they have just hired her to this critical and crucial position. It's astonishing to me. Some crackpot influencer that just made stuff up online. That's where we're at right now. That's the level of dystopia, but it's a tool for them. Bring her in, someone that'll do any bidding, someone that'll make anything up they want, someone that'll spout any BS that they want her to spout, and she'll do it. She'll do it. There's no integrity there. And that's the point.
Before we go on to the next part, which is them literally saying they're creating a national guard force that could just roam around America and police citizens, I want to start going through some of our more recent on the ground clips, because it's kind of the visual. It's kind of like the visual impact at showing you the victims of, I think, their coup that is in motion. I don't know what order you have it, Colin, but we have clips from our recent reporting on the ground in Chicago, some of the clips from the No King's Day protests we've covered. And again, if you're coming to this late, as far as I know, we're the only independent outlet that nationally, we're a national outlet that has been out there on the ground for months. I mean, we've been on the ground for years, but I'm talking Trump 2.0. We've covered his terror in L.A., the L.A. ICE raids. We had our reporter, Tina Desiree Berg, out there for a week or 2 weeks. She got shot in the leg by a rubber bullet. Fortunately, she was okay. We've been down at Alligator Alcatraz, the torture camp that's still torturing undocumented immigrants, and we exposed that they even had minors in that camp. We were in D.C. for 2 weeks covering his military takeover of D.C. We've covered his ICE raids at the federal courthouse in New York City, where they're slamming down politicians. They're slamming down pregnant women, veterans. And we've been on the ground, aside from a few days. We've been on the ground in Chicago now for almost a month. And so, it is incredibly expensive to be on the ground for a few days, let alone a month. As much as we've grown this month, like I said, we're almost at 30,000 new YouTube subscribers. This reporting on the ground has cost us between $7,000 and $8,000 between our reporter, cameraman, hotels, flights, rent a car, gas, food. It's very expensive to be on the ground. And we don't take funding from all the corporate vultures who have purchased Republican Party officials, Democratic Party. We don't take money from Wall Street, fossil fuel executives, big pharma, big tech, big agriculture, military industrial. Our funding comes from you. So I plead with you, if we are going to stay on the ground, and we're expanding, we hired a new producer, Michelle. We hired JT. We're trying to use folks like Zaina and others more and pay them. Colin, obviously, who's been here for a long time. If we're going to do this on the ground and continue to keep up with this insanity and the fascism, because fascism will thrive in the darkness. Fascism will thrive if you have a couple streamers out, but you don't really have like actual news outlets out there. And sorry, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, some air quotes, independent outlets, they're not cutting it. So if you want to support this, we got to keep the lights on and we got to pay these people and pay the travel bills. There's a lot of independent outlets out there begging you for money. Some of them I like. They don't have the overhead we have because they're not out there traveling and covering stuff in the trenches.
And
so
can I say, now that we have AI and now that AI is out there, it's more and more critical that we have trusted newsrooms that are bringing us stuff live that we can see with our own two eyes. With our own two eyes while it's happening in this Fahrenheit 451 nonsense of a state that we're in right now. So
absolutely. So smash the like button and please sign up. I'll shout you out while we're live. All right, Colin, let's play whatever you got first.
I just think we've all seen ICE terrorizing members of our community for so long, and it's getting so much worse. It's getting violent, and it's just something that you need to speak up for, you need to speak up about, because this is not only anti-democratic, and it's not only racist, and it's not only against what we want, but it just needs to stop. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, I work with kids, and a lot of them right now are really scared. I work with kids who are a group that would be targeted by this, and a lot of them have been expressing so much fear and anger, and I just feel like I would be remiss to not do my part because I can, and I'm not going to be taken. So I need to do what I can do.
When you say you work with kids, like what age group? Like how young is this fear registering?
It's going all the way down to like 3rd grade, I would say. Even younger, they're not really entirely like conscious of it, but they are definitely scared. I hear 3rd graders comparing their skin color and wondering who's the most at risk. You know what I mean? Like, these kids are fucking terrified. Sorry, they're very terrified.
Meaning kids are actually physically comparing their like skin color to each other, being like on a spectrum almost of how likely am I to be profiled, to be abducted by ICE.
Yes.
I don't even know what to say after that. I mean, that is absolutely horrifying.
That is, I mean, I think about that. Obviously, my daughter is white, but I just can't imagine like young kids. And we covered a protest 2 weeks ago on Saturday outside a high school because the kids are terrified because ICE agents are literally surrounding the high school to snag people. And now you have kids kind of comparing their skin color to see who's going to be taken. I mean, that's like way past dystopian. I mean, that's just dark, evil, like shades of Germany kind of shit.
It's not just shades of Germany. It reads like the letters that I've read from, the ghettos during that time period. These are the kinds of conversations people were having. What does their name look like? How dark is their skin tone? What's their parents' names? Who could get rounded up? These were the kinds of conversations their children were having.
And again, straight up, this is why we need your support. You're not seeing stuff like this. You're definitely not seeing it on cable news. You're not seeing it on the big newspapers. You're not even really seeing it in independent, certainly not the broadcast, Rogan, Theo Von, these explosion of doodlehead podcasters who don't know anything. I love that word, doodlehead. You're not seeing this kind of reporting and this kind of
Jordan's starting to adapt dad language.
Yes. I'm very lucky I could just construct words because I'm not sleeping. So please support us, statuscoup.com/join. All right, Colin, what do you got next?
Blowing my whistle and calling a Nazi a Nazi. 100%. Because let me tell you something. At this point in the administration...
Sorry, just for a little bit of clarity, she's referring to like those right-wing provocateurs that we were talking about here in the audience, that are here in the crowd out here, who have been circulating and trying to stir stuff up. Yeah.
Because anybody that supports Trump in this administration thus far, because I know that MAGA is fractured and they're leaving silently because it's a cult and that's how you leave a cult. And trying to form a purple revolution as if we want to do something like that. But if you're still supporting this, that's exactly what you are. You are rooted in white supremacy and capitalism. And there's no way to convince me differently. And that's how white supremacy and capitalism need to be broken down. It needs to be called out. It needs to be called out. I would have loved to destroy him. But that's the best that we can do right now. But it's obvious.
Yeah, we saw a lot of folks from the crowd kind of join in with you in shouting them down.
And when I'm by myself, typical of the right-wing man who wants to attack a woman, always. I fight back. I'm not a stay-at-home mom who's like willing to give up my voting rights and my body. It's never going to happen.
We heard him making reference to like a filing of a police report. Does that kind of language intimidate you?
Oh, I'm willing to get arrested for this. I've looked forward to this revolution since I was a child. I'm a born socialist, from a socialist political refugee from Guatemala. So this is my opportunity to fight for it, then I will fight for it. I will go down bleeding, bruised, dead, or arrested. I'm good with it.
CNN would have cut her off like 3 minutes earlier. But just so people know the context, something that is developing, there's always been like right-wing plants and right-wing provocateurs, but with this explosion of podcasters and influencers, which I hate that fucking term. Nobody ever called me an influencer. You have all these kind of like right-wing garbage men, propagandists. Some of them are women who are just, kind of just paid to push Trump's propaganda. Some of them were literally at a round table at the White House on Antifa 2 weeks ago. And then one of them, Cam Higbee, the next day was in the crowd at the Broadview protests, basically camera in people's faces, protesters' faces, and they're there to antagonize. There's several of these little like leeches that are clearly right-wing grifters. They're not journalists, and they're there to basically almost like stoke violence and then spin it around as, see, the left is violent. See, Antifa. So they're trying to antagonize the crowd and get people boiled up to yell at them or, be violent at them so that they could then push their narrative. So one of them was doing that at these protests, and protesters were, getting in his face and telling him to leave. And that woman was one of them. But
and they'll take opportunities too, and they've done this for years. I've dealt with it in organizing, but it has escalated. They will take opportunities to take clips of what is real, distort it to manufacture something false. One of the things that Tina Desiree Berg has done a great job of, and when she was on here doing her show with us, Right Wing Insanity, she uncovered a lot of it where they would take a disingenuous clip and then she would capture what really happened and then have to report what really happened. And that's another reason why it's so important that we're on the ground to be able to counter this manipulative type of reporting, because the mainstream media isn't there. And if you just have a bunch of right-wing lunatics running around distorting reality, we have to have news outlets on the ground to be able to report what's really happening. And that's part of why it's so important that we're doing the work we're doing, because otherwise, who would capture what really happened? There was a few weeks ago, John Farina captured a veteran being thrown to the ground, but the DHS themselves tried to reframe it and put out an inauthentic clip. And people like Benny Johnson, who spoke at that press conference you were talking about, he spoke as a White House representative. Benny Johnson, this crazy nutbag right-wing influencer, had an opportunity to speak as a White House spokesperson. Totally unhinged.
My money,
but if we had
my
been
money,
there on the ground, we wouldn't have had the real footage. But we caught it on camera. We caught the real footage, and we reported that. Go ahead, George.
My money, by the way, is on Benny Johnson to kind of become the next Charlie Kirk, so to speak. He is literally going around doing propaganda tours with Kristi Noem. He is following Kristi Noem as she lands on the helipad at the Chicago Detention Center and in Portland as they, yell at the crowd of hippie grandmas. But he's literally doing like state propaganda for Kristi Noem, who, by the way, if you just read the piece, there's a new book out. Kristi Noem, she wasn't even on the short list to be the head of Department of Homeland Security. And people in Trump's world were really outraged when he picked her because she has zero qualifications to be Department of, I don't even think there should be a Department of Homeland Security, but putting that aside,
department heads have no experience in any of the departments that they're leading, including
you know why she got that job? I don't know if it's true or not, but there's some whispers and some birds out there owling that her and Trump's boy Corey Lewandowski had a little extramarital relationship, and Corey Lewandowski, I guess, asked Trump. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just kind of the rumors that have swirled for years. So
it's not meritocracy?
Apparently not. Apparently not. Speaking of why we need your support, welcome new Status Coup member A2019. Appreciate it. Welcome new Status Coup member Jeff. We really could use more support. Like I said, JT will be out there tomorrow. We'll be live possibly twice tomorrow covering Chicago protests. We're going to try to be live Sunday as well, depending on what's going on. As we've been there the last few weekends. Remember, 2 weekends ago, they shot a woman and claimed that she and others in this majority Hispanic neighborhood boxed in ICE agents with their cars. That quickly was shown to be bullshit. They just shot her because she was basically yelling some stuff at them. So they shot this unarmed, this woman who they claimed was armed, but then the actual court filing, they said nothing about her having a gun. So if she was armed, don't you think they'd have that in the actual indictment against her? And as we've shown, they are literally terrorizing Hispanic and Black communities. They're throwing tear gas into people's yards and homes. We showed you footage a couple days ago. A baby was tear gassed, not purposely, but because they're just releasing the tear gas everywhere. A newborn baby was in the crowd. I got a 5-month-old. Babies' lungs are not developed. If they suck in tear gas, that could do some serious long-term damage. I mean, I don't care if you're on the left. I don't care if you're on the right. I don't care if you think we need a tight border, whatever. This is evil shit. This is like cartoon, the Joker, Batman villain type shit. And even they are not as evil as this. So let's play one more clip on the ground. And please, if you appreciate this reporting, and think about it, do you see many other outlets doing this on the ground reporting? If you do, let me know, because I don't. But if you have $5 a month, if you don't have $5 a month, no shame. Times are tough. But if you got $5 a month, which is 16 cents a day, please support this independent on-the-ground journalism. We call it justice journalism because, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of people doing it. Colin, if we could play one more.
Everybody comply. We're not obstructing. expecting anything, you fucking Nazis? Fuck you all day! Get back! Fuck you! Fuck you! Shut the fuck up, fascist pants! Hope you all ready. You know what happens to war criminals. Hope you all know what happens to war criminals.
That's just one of many scenes where they're shooting almost like target practice at protesters. They're shooting pepper balls. They're shooting rubber bullets, shooting tear gas, they're launching stun grenades and flashbangs. By the way,
well, didn't Trump say he wanted to send in the National Guard into our cities so that they can
Yes.
get training on the ground within the United States?
Yes. And, you know, the media kind of throws these terms around pretty casually, like, oh, they're all non-lethal. Well, tear gas is illegal internationally. You can't use it in war because it's a chemical weapon. You can use it in America, not just ICE and Border Patrol, by the way. Police departments routinely use tear gas, particularly against black and brown people. Pepper balls, rubber bullets. You get shot with pepper balls, rubber bullets, specifically point blank range. It could do some serious damage. Rubber bullets particularly can kill you if you get shot point blank range in a specific part of the body. Not to mention the respiratory stuff with the tear gas and all that. John has told me, because he's been tear gassed quite a bit over the last few years covering protests, he told me whatever they're unleashing in Chicago is far, far more noxious and toxic than tear gas that he's been tear gassed with elsewhere. So,
and ProPublica did an article in 2020 where they did some research on this with reports of people with influenza, pneumonia, bronchitis, respiratory illnesses, people being sent to the ER who had asthma, didn't know they had asthma after exposure to these chemicals.
Yep.
Their lungs were burned. These were some of the things that we saw after the BLM protest, that some people had long-term effects from these chemicals. And when they're being shot off in neighborhoods, they're coming through windows, they're hitting bystanders, they're impacting the entire community. Protesters, yes, and that's bad enough, but also the entire community, as you mentioned a few minutes ago.
So I want to go back to just the ongoing illegal shit that they're openly flaunting. So we've gone through that. Bannon is now openly saying they have a plan that they're ready to roll out for Trump to stay in office and run again, or just cancel the 2028 election. We've gone through what they're saying about 2026. Now I want to show you, apparently they now have some type of National Guard plan in all 50 states that Trump was asked about, and he kind of handed it over to Pete Hegseth. Sounds blatantly illegal to me. It called the National Guard Response Force, trained in, quote, crowd control and civil unrest. Why would you have a National Guard in all 50 states to, quote, deal with civil unrest and crowd control? Well, it sure seems like there might be civil unrest if you try to cancel elections and declare a national emergency. Colin, if we could play that clip of Trump asked about the National Guard Response Force.
Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard Response Force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
Interesting. So, sounds to me, he said in the planning phase, I don't know why you would have to release the National Guard unless you have declared the Insurrection Act, which we probably think they're going to do.
Title 10 and Title 32 are connected to the Insurrection Act. I believe that's what he's referencing there.
Yes. And then when you declare insurrection, when you declare national emergency, the next step would be canceling elections or federal oversight of elections. So why would you?
Militarized police state with oversight of elections. Yeah.
So that's why you would need a quote force to deal with civil unrest. So yeah, I mean the plan is kind of just being spelled out. They might not be giving you bullets in a PowerPoint, but they're presenting their plan. And frankly, I think he's just banking on the Supreme Court to go along with it, because you have 2 votes no matter what on the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas and what's his face, Samuel Alito. They'll vote with Trump on anything. And then, you know, the 3 judges that he put in place, give or take a few exceptions, I mean, they typically will vote with him. John Roberts will be kind of like that swing one. He'll be like the voice of reason, but not enough to swing it towards the minority. So seems to me that he feels he could do whatever he wants. And also, he's already made clear they're not going to listen to lower court rulings, but I'm not even sure he would listen to the Supreme Court.
I don't know that he would. I don't know that he would, Jordan.
Yeah. So this is really, I think, really alarming. I mean, I don't want to wax poetic and give you some bullshit like West Wing TV show version of America, because a lot of channels do that and pretend that we were some thriving democracy that's now being ripped away from us. We were not. I mean, this is a corrupt cesspool of a country. Both parties are corrupt. The Democrats are corrupt.
You have the Democrats right now, like bringing up Reagan all day today. That's what they're focused on. While this fascism is happening, while we're covering this, Democratic pundits from, you know, certain news organizations or media organizations have spent all day talking about how Ronald Reagan actually supported immigrants and the American people. Come on. Is that the bar? That's the bar. That's where we're taking it back to, is Reagan as some glorified, ideal American? What is this? This is how they're covering this. And as you said, one of the things that's very scary, and we're already going to see it now with the government shutdown and people's SNAP benefits. I just got a letter in the mail saying, you know, the worker parameters are now set in place. So you have to work at least 20 hours a week, or you have to go and you have to volunteer for free for a federal agency for 20 hours a week. So yeah, no, but they're already starting. Some of these are already starting to go into effect, but by 2026, everything, like you said, from the big, beautiful bastardization bill is supposed to go into effect. So what we're looking at are people lose 26 million knocked off healthcare, millions losing SNAP benefits, people losing the little bit of subsidies they have for childcare. Not to mention, who was it? Amazon that said that they're about to lay off 600,000 workers and replace them with automation. 600,000 workers. And in the next 2 years, the reporting that we've covered says anywhere from 25 to 30% of jobs is supposed to be replaced by AI. I think everyone we know has someone that's worried or has just gotten their job replaced by artificial intelligence. So all of this all this unrest can be cover for them to take it all the way back, to steal or to take this election, to thwart what little bit of democracy we have left. Not that we had much to begin with.
Right. And in response, the Democrats will send a sternly worded letter. Because that's pretty much what you're getting. I mean,
they'll praise Reagan. It'll be Lutnick coming out to say that we need to. We're going to revive Reagan and we're going to make a Reagan clone, and that's going to be the solution.
I want to show this tweet from Kyle Kalinske, host of Secular Talk, which I think kind of says it well. So Trump is aggressively gerrymandering, signed an executive order to have Doge oversee elections, forgot about that one, is mandating all state voting data be given to the feds, is appointing 2020 election deniers in key positions, and this is on top of Dominion voting systems being sold to a MAGA hack. He's going for it. Yeah, that's what's going on, folks. That's what's going on. So, and it's like this toxic cycle too, because even if they're not successful, let's say, the Democrats win resoundingly in the New Jersey governor's race, the Virginia governor's race, then in 2028, Democrats retake the House, maybe the Senate, whether you want that or not, put that aside. He's the president now. So who's to say they won't try to not seat some of these new Democrats who took back the majority in Congress? Who's to say they're not going to file all these dubious lawsuits? And if judges throw them out, he's in the White House. He didn't lose. He's president unless he's dead. I'm not calling for that, YouTube. I'm just saying, unless he dies before then, he's going to be president. So he could pretty much, the Supreme Court has said you could do whatever you want. You got immunity.
He can veto everything. He has, like you said, full immunity given by the Supreme Court.
So this is a dangerous time. I mean, this is going to be way beyond like your just cesspool of an election where you're flooded with, super PAC ads and TV commercials and mailers. The real thing is like, how do we know whoever wins is actually going to be able to take power? And even if Democrats do win and they're able to take power, then it's just 2020 all over again. And they're going to run on Stop the Steal in 2028, saying the Democrats stole it in 2026. It's just, it's a really vicious cycle, a really, really vicious cycle. I also want to show another clip from today's Joseph Goebbels, Stephen Miller, who I'm not sure if it's Trump or Stephen Miller running the government, because it seems like a lot of what Trump is doing is literally out of like Stephen Miller's fever dreams.
Yeah.
From the ICE invasions to killing Venezuelan, people on boats in Venezuela. But this is Stephen Miller. Again, there's this talk from these Trump sycophants, almost like he's given to us, from divinity. He's like divinely given to us. It's really, it's cult. It's cultish talk. If we could play that Stephen Miller clip, Colin.
I don't know if I have a Stephen Miller.
It's the last one under videos. If you don't have it, it's fine.
Give me 1 sec. Let me see.
And while we wait, smash the like button, share this live stream. We're also going to get to a story that Zaina did on a progressive, air quotes, progressive consulting firm that sure seems to be propping up a lot of not progressive people.
During the
raking in a lot of money.
I know
doing
that's
it.
basically the overall goal over this 4-year term for President Trump. You're a big player in that. So what does that mean? How do you restore the republic?
When President Trump talks about restoring the republic, he means restoring a country in which the fundamental loyalty and allegiance we have is to the American citizen who does everything right. And that's why the system has been such a travesty for so long, is that the people who, they work hard in a job that perhaps is thankless, nobody's appreciating them. They earn enough money, barely, to support their family, to take care of their kids, to take care of their loved ones. They follow every rule, they pay every tax no matter how outrageous. And they look around them, and everybody else that isn't doing it right is getting rewarded. So the scammers and grifters in Washington, D.C. are getting rich. The illegal aliens are getting rich. The criminals are getting away with everything. So this person thinks, I've done everything right in my life, and the entire system serves everyone at my expense. Restoring the republic means that the citizen, the law...
I can't listen to that anymore because it's so fucking like MAGA. If you're listening, you have got to be the stupidest fucking person if you believe these people. Number one, the scammers in Washington, D.C. are getting rich. He literally just pardoned one of the biggest crypto scammers who literally made his family, the Trump family, I mean, I don't know, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. He just pardoned that crypto scammer. He just pardoned that fraudster, George Santos.
We're spending $250 million on a stupid ballroom after destroying the left wing. This is just today. We are sending $20 billion to Argentina to bail out an authoritarian fascist.
40 now.
40 now. Oh, I'm a little behind, Jordan. It's moving so fast. Thank you for the correction.
You remember when we heard from CNN and MSNBC, how are you going to pay for it? Healthcare? I don't hear those questions about Argentina or the $250 billion for ICE or the ballroom. How are you going to pay for it? Nah, we don't ask how you're going to pay for it.
Regulating AI, maybe, that's taking all of our jobs, or maybe tax some of these billionaires. He's talking about hardworking Americans that, quote unquote, do everything right. So if you don't do everything right, are you an American? But that do everything right, the God-fearing Americans, you know, that are getting overtaxed. Well, what about the people that aren't getting taxed at all?
And another thing, MAGA, and I really, if you're watching, because we do have some MAGA people who watch from time to time, do you really think there are undocumented immigrants getting rich? Do you think there's some undocumented immigrants in like a Miami penthouse right now, sipping, you know, fucking Cristal as they, you know, eat gold truffles? What kind of stupidity is this? They're getting rich at your fucking expense. Stephen Miller and Trump and all the fucking swamp monsters around him. They're getting rich as they
techno monarchist people like Peter Thiel that helped
Mark Andreessen.
Mark Andreessen, who just said yesterday that, well, if they lose jobs to AI, then those are jobs we shouldn't have been employing people for to begin with. And then they said, well, what happens? And he's like, well, that's not really a concern of mine.
And by the way, they're getting rich. Trump is up his net worth of $3 billion since he's been president. That's only 10 months, folks. But they're getting rich while creating in your mind imaginary rich people. They're getting rich while creating in your mind
SNAP benefits and Medicare and Medicaid. These are the rich people. These are the grifters. These are the people that are stealing from you.
They're getting rich as they're literally throwing hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, free government money to corporations to double down on AI to then replace your jobs. I just interviewed an Amazon worker earlier. They're replacing 600,000 jobs with robots, which we've been talking about here for a year, how AI is going to displace workers. So they're getting rich while basically fucking you 7 ways to sideways and then hoodwinking you, MAGA, into thinking it's the immigrants that are destroying your lives and taking your jobs. It's such a psychops. It's unbelievable. I mean, credit to them. These are some of the most gifted con men and women in the history of man. And
Jordan, Joe Lonesdale from Palantir and Palmer Luckey from Ondrel, 2 of these tech bro creeps that made and manufactured weapons that were utilized in the genocide in Gaza that are now being brought home and sold to ICE for facial recognition and for data mining to spy on U.S. citizens, technology and drones that are to be used by police forces, just got approved for a bank this week. Just got approved for a federally reserved backed cryptocurrency bank.
And by the way, folks, mark this down. What's today? October 24th. Save this video, Colin, somewhere. We are 2025. I would say this is basically 2020. This is now 2006, 2007. The house of cards that fell in 2008, that's coming. The AI bubble. That is going to be the next housing crash. Because the only reason this economy is not in a full-on fucking recession or worse is all the investment into AI. That's it. Other than that, all the numbers are far, far down, from jobs to wages. I mean, they've been down forever on wages. But people much smarter than me are saying there's going to be an economic crash from the AI bubble, a crypto bubble. It's all fake. It's all fake.
And everyone's saying go get trade jobs, but who's going to have the money for you to do roofing? Who's going to have the money for you to come in and fix their plumbing or their roofs or to repaint their houses? Who's going to have the money to do that when this bubble bursts? What we're all just going to move to the USDA and the Department of Treasury, the Department of Labor are all saying, go out and get trade jobs. It's the new go learn how to code, right? But who's going to hire all of these people to do trade jobs, Jordan, if they can't afford to have their lawn mowed? Who are they going to hire? Who's going to hire you?
Colin, I just sent you another video, if you have time to bring it in. I mean, now, and I think this is specifically important since we're back on the ground in Chicago covering this ICE invasion. If you came to this late, we'll be live tomorrow in Chicago covering protests against Trump's federal invasion of Chicago. ICE, Border Patrol, they're currently trying to get the Supreme Court to overrule lower courts to allow the National Guard into Chicago, which is probably going to happen given that in Portland, judges were overruled and Trump was allowed to send the National Guard in. I can't imagine the Supreme Court is going to stick with the several court rulings allowing, saying that the National Guard cannot come into Chicago. So that's what's going to come. But Colin, if you have the video, Stephen Miller, I don't know what legal I don't know why he gets to say this. Stephen Miller is now saying to ICE officers, you have full immunity to do whatever you want. If you have that, Colin, I sent it to you.
We need to reassure a couple points. To all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties. And the Department of Justice has made clear that if officials cross that line into obstruction, into criminal conspiracy against the United States or against ICE officers, then they will face justice.
So, Zaina, what Mr. Goebbels there just said to the SEAL Team 6 buffoons, walking around, some of them are literally walking around with AR-15s. We've seen video of that. Rounding up people. They're driving into parked cars and dragging a young mother out. They've literally arrested 5-year-olds. They've tear gassed babies. What he is saying to essentially this army of fucking, roided up jocks from high school who either couldn't get a job as a cop or flunked out or whatever. You're free to do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
You will not be prosecuted.
You have immunity, essentially.
And by the way, Trump already pardoned the January 6ers. So he's just basically pre-pardoning them. He's basically saying, do whatever you want. And by the way, a judge also said you have to wear body cameras. From what I hear on the ground, they're not even doing that.
No, they're not following the regulations set forth in California at all. They're just completely ignoring judges' rulings.
And by the way, this is also important. I mean, we've already established there's no apparent legal system anymore. what authority does Stephen Miller have to give anyone immunity? He's not the attorney general. He's not a judge. He's just a fucking lunatic white supremacist, apparent, whisperer into Trump's ears. He can't tell ICE that they have full immunity unless I missed something and there's some DOJ memo out there that ICE officers have full immunity to do anything.
Jordan, he's the head of the Nerd Reich. So
that's true. Oh, what do you know? Hakeem Jeffries has endorsed Zohran Mamdani. So apparently, apparently that he'll have to go without AIPAC for a little bit. All right. I want to play a few more clips. I want to play a few more clips from our on the ground reporting. Again, reminder.
But does that help or hurt, Jordan? Just a second.
I don't think it hurt. I don't think it hurts Zohran at all, but I don't really think his supporters care. But yeah, it'll hurt Jeffries, I guess, with special interests. But I guess. So again, we need your support. So I think we've been establishing the stakes here and telling you what's on the line here. But we could only stay on the ground for so long. We don't have a money tree in our backyard, and we don't have some, trillionaire funding us or $1 trillion company funding us, or, the very donors buying off all our politicians. Our funding is bootstraps from you. So please, if you can, support us. StatusCoup.com/join. Just 16 cents a day could help us stay on the ground, and we'll be live again tomorrow from Chicago. Colin, let's play whatever you got next from our on-the-ground reporting.
Tell me about the sign. What brought you out here?
Well, we're here to fight fascism, and we want to go back to having a real country with real people who are not a bunch of sociopathic fascists who are trying to take away our rights. We're here to just express ourselves and say we want democracy.
You mentioned sociopaths. What troubles me, the president has this guy next to him all the time, Stephen Miller.
Oh, yeah.
People have compared him to Joseph Goebbels.
It's a fair comparison, I would say.
Tell me about the sociopath term. Do you feel like Trump and the people around him are sociopaths?
Absolutely. I mean, anybody who thinks it's okay to put little children, separate them from their parents, handcuff them half naked, just treat people like beasts, that's not normal. That is fascism. That's being a sociopath. It's cruel. It's sick. And we can't stand for that. Enough of this stuff.
And another thing that really troubles me, because you have the swastika here, I mean, dictators, autocrats, fascists, they cancel elections.
Oh, yeah, and that's what they're going to do. There's no bottom. There is nothing that they will not do, and it comes down to we, the people. We are the ones that are going to stop this. We have to vote. We have to do everything possible, and don't give in and just stay courageous, because there is no reason for the majority of people to put up with this idiot, cruel, sick way of living. We want to have life. We want to have light. We don't want to have death and destruction. Who does this help? A few billionaires. Well, they can go to hell.
Right. And may I add, Trump is a tool. He is a tool for Thiel and for Putin, and that is really the sad part of this, is that the American people deserve better. And we will fight for our rights.
We're not giving up. No way. And if you look at the crowd here, there are hundreds of thousands of beautiful people. Look at the artistry, the creativity, the beauty. That's what life is about. It's not about putting children in cages and ripping them from their mothers and throwing their hardworking parents in jail. That's just sociopathic, sick garbage.
And don't forget about the environment. How he's destroying the environment so that the billionaires can make more money.
I just want to read something to you real quick and get your thoughts, because I think this is being lost and the media is not talking about it. Right now, the bottom 60% of U.S. households don't make enough money to afford a minimal quality of life. Late rental payments are skyrocketing. There's a surge of Americans living in RVs. U.S. homelessness hit a record high. I could keep going.
As we were driving here, right here in New York, there was an entire family living on the street as we're driving. Now, this is not human. And to have so many trillionaires just getting more and more of everything, there is no need. There is absolutely no need for the earth to be in this condition. And it's these few people. They have to be stopped, and we're in the majority. And we will stop them.
So that was at the big No Kings Day parade march in New York City. Listen, there was a healthy amount of kind of wine moms and back to brunch liberals out there, but it was a good crowd, very diverse, old, young, black, white, brown, Hispanic, Chinese. I saw everybody. And I didn't see one anarchist, terrorist, Antifa, lunatic, or however they're painting it. I saw a lot of people dressed in costumes and animal costumes. I saw animals. Honestly, it was just kind of like a free love kind of vibe to me. And again, there is more of these people than MAGA. There is. It's just our electoral system is so fucked up that the majority does not rule. The majority does not rule in this country. And the Democrats have provided crumbs for so many years that it has angered and made so more and more desperate that, you know, at the time of the last election, they said it wasn't all diehard MAGA that voted for him. There's a lot of independents, and there was a lot of people who aren't really into politics that just said, well, prices are too high. I might not like him, but they just remembered prices were lower when he was president, which had nothing to do with him. It was just we didn't have COVID.
They
It was,
remembered the bailouts. They remembered stuff that they thought we could potentially get that's not
Exactly.
happening. And the No Kings protest, my question, I think it's great that millions came out. My question is, what's next? Because there wasn't a clear call to action. And I think it's great that the average everyday people showed up. The organizers kept their sign suggestions and stuff very milquetoast, but there were a lot of people that didn't listen to that because, they didn't have anything about Medicare for all. They didn't have anything about taxing billionaires. They didn't have anything about abolishing ICE, ironically. So their suggested media that they were suggesting people rally around was extremely milquetoast liberal. But I will say, I saw a lot of people that came out with very bombastic energy. And but remember, this isn't a valve release. You can't just go to these protests and go home because it's still going to continue. And 2026 is a whole year away. So, I hope that some calls to action come out of this, community organizing and other things that could actually help people. So.
And I said it on the day.
The coverage was great. I watched the live stream from Status Coup.
Why, thank you. I held in a pee for exactly 3 hours. So hopefully my prostate's okay. I said it on the day of the No Kings. Maybe it wasn't popular to say because obviously people were excited, this and that. A day of mass protesting, 7 people or 7 million, not going to do anything. It's not. Trump doesn't care. The fascists don't care. But if the people organizing these protests, which credit to them, I mean, it's an impressive feat to organize, what was it, 2,500 protests around the country?
Yeah.
Including it. It's very impressive. But
my small town had one, and about 250 people to 300 people showed up in my tiny town in the hills in Appalachia. So
JT, our reporter, covered it in Omaha, Nebraska. We have another video from there where he interviewed quite a lot of normie Democrats who kind of sounded like Bernie socialists. So the tide is starting to shift a bit. But if you could get even 1/10 of the millions out there to start organizing economically, that's how you take a day and make a movement.
Absolutely.
You got to get people to organize economically. If there were specific demands for No Kings Day and threats of we're going to target A, B, C, D companies or sectors, and we're also going to put in mutual aid pots so that as we strategically target, whether it's Amazon, corporate banking, whatever it is, we're going to have a pot of money to go to those workers who are affected. That's how you do it. Not for a day, because we've seen little, first day of the month strikes on Amazon. I'm talking a week, a month. That's what we need to get to. So we're seeing that we could mass mobilize boots on the ground. literally feet on the ground, which is not easy. But you got to take that a step further. And that's not just against Trump. That's for healthcare. That's for against capitalism, against the permanent war state. That's how we're going to actually
against Disney, Jordan, and Disney shifted gears very quickly. People organized against Tesla. And, you know, Tesla had to respond to the mass boycotts. It works. It works.
Exactly. Exactly. I want to play one more clip before we turn to your story. Whatever you got next, Colin, from our on-the-ground reporting.
I'm Jolly Good Ginger on all social media platforms. I try to stand in solidarity with communities, speak out about injustice in our communities, as well as, you know, fight fascism in our politics. I'm an Iraq, Afghanistan veteran, and currently I'm trying to mobilize veterans across the country to do this, to stand with communities.
Why is it important to mobilize veterans? What does the weight that their voice carries that you see that as a very important element to have here, standing with communities?
Sure, I think that society has ascribed a certain, you know, title or pocket for veterans. And so when veterans speak, I think people in these situations listen to what we have to say because we've worn the uniform. Now, I've never been a cop, but I've been in uniform service. We talk about the National Guard. I've been in the Army. And so I think people feel empowered when veterans stand up and say, this isn't right. Right, because so often we feel like the system is against us. So often we feel like this president specifically is going to turn the military against us. So when people see veterans say, no, I don't agree with this. This is fascism. This is a wannabe dictator. It gives them the confidence that there's other people currently actively serving that would also not follow those orders to turn themselves against the American people. And I hope that here in the Illinois State Police and the Cook County Sheriff's Office, that there are people who would recognize that they're on the wrong side of this conversation. I know you think that you're fighting for truth, justice, and the American way, but you're defending a facility where they're bringing people that are straight up being kidnapped off the street. If you want to have a conversation of legality in our country, let's have that conversation. If you want to have a conversation how to address people based on their legal status, let's have that conversation. That conversation should never begin or end with people being kidnapped, with mothers being taken out of school pickup lines, with fathers and mothers being taken out of workplaces, with people being taken out of courthouses. That's not addressing legality. That's just intimidation and fear and breaking apart a community. And community is the strongest thing we have as a country.
So that's Jolly Good Ginger. We interviewed him in D.C. too. One of the vets. There's kind of this vet brigade going around in D.C., Chicago, wherever, to go after Trump and these invasions. Colin, let's play the other guy, the other veteran who was really good as well.
Holding people against their will is against the Constitution. Rolling people up off the streets without due process is not what I served for.
You just referenced your service there. It's very apparent with what you're wearing.
I did 22 years and some change. I gave my life to this country, not for this.
And what made you want to serve? What are the ideals that you serve for?
This is America. This is what we're supposed to be, that bright, shining house on the hill. We're supposed to be what everyone aspires to. Do you want another country to aspire like us now?
Right. So what branch did you serve in?
22 years in the Army. Yes.
Were you deployed at all during?
Yes, I fought in every operation since Panama in '89. From '89, Desert Storm, Panama, Iraq, and Afghanistan multiple times.
Why is it important for you to demonstrate, hey, I am a veteran?
This is right. This is what we fought for. Jolly knows. Come here, Jolly. Come here, brother. We fought, but not for this. We fought for the Constitution, for what we believe in, something that is better than ourselves.
So, yeah, I'm just glad we're out there. I know
it's good to hear where people are and hear the different diverse opinions of people that are showing up at these protests, because there are a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds. Of course, I have my own feelings on the Iraq and Afghanistan war and what it means to defend the Constitution by what we did over there. But I will say that I am glad there are people on the ground, and I'm glad that JT was there to interview and actually hear directly from them, because there's no other news agency really doing that right now.
And, I think a lot of veterans, although I respect their service, might be a little jaded on, the wonder and righteousness of America. But at the same time, at least they're out there. I mean, it was the veterans who came to Standing Rock to try and protect Native Americans and their white allies as the oil police were shooting at them. And now it's veterans who are coming to these protests. And I just think, most of these times when we're out there on the ground, local media is there, but they're just kind of getting what we call B-roll, which is just video. Maybe they'll get they'll do a quick interview and then leave. We're the only ones out there. Mainstream media
far behind the lines is what I've heard, Jordan.
Oh, they are far behind. They are not getting tear gassed in mainstream media. I'll tell you that. So I'm proud that we're out there. Again, we're going to be out there tomorrow and probably Sunday too. It's expensive to do this kind of reporting. So if you have just $5 a month, we do have higher plans too. You could support us at $10 a month, $20 a month, or $179 annually. But I really, really appreciate all those signing up. Like I said, not only have we gained 28,000 subscribers on YouTube this month, we have gained over 500 paid members, which is just critically important. It's the only way. If you want to see more of Zaina, if you want to see more folks, I'd like to pay people and have to pay people. And it's expensive to travel. Even if we do everything very frugally, which we do, to be on the road for 5 days with a cameraman and a reporter costs $2 to $3 grand between the flights, the hotels, renting a car, food. It's expensive. So please support us. Zaina, I want to turn to your story. I hate to be a dick, but my wife's yelling at me to go take care of my kid. So if you can, we have the story that you broke on Substack, your Substack, which everyone should follow, and graphic you sent. I want you to go through it because it might not seem as dire as everything we're talking about now, but I think it's important in this moment we're in to actually see who's actually progressive and who's just kind of grifting to make money. If you could take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's and thank you so much, Jordan. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
There's a new term that's kind of been circulating among Democrats, and it is, we can't get Fetterman. Fetterman was rolled out in his Senate race against Dr. Oz as a, progressive that supported the legalization of marijuana, Medicare for all, certain left-wing policies. He supported universal health care, as I had mentioned, but he has been voting in line with Donald Trump. So it begs the question. There were some of us kind of ringing the bells on some criticism of Fetterman during his race. And it begs the question, how did he get sold to us as someone who was, quote unquote, on the left or progressive, when in reality, he turns out to not be that at all? Similar to a Kirsten Sinema or a Joe Manchin, the rotating villain that Democrats will use as an excuse not to pass policy many times, and as the person that they sort of scapegoat out when policy doesn't get passed. Do you have the article handy, Colin? And we'll go through a little bit of it. It's kind of long, so I'm not going to read it all to you. So there is this consulting firm called Middle Seat, the $134 million firm that sold the myth of John Fetterman. And I featured this on my Substack, bullhornbulletin.com. And John Fetterman isn't the only person who has paid in millions and millions of dollars to this quote unquote, I'm so sorry. Quiet the entire time and then start barking as soon as I'm doing my story. I'm so sorry about that. But they are not the only people who have paid in. John Fetterman, $20 million to this consulting firm. Katie Porter, $10.8 million. AOC, $8.6 million. We could go on down just a little bit. So have you ever gotten a text or an email from a political candidate you never supported asking you to chip in $5 to defend democracy? Maybe you deleted it, but that message probably came from the candidate. Probably didn't come from the candidate. It may have come from a political consulting firm that repackaged the Bernie movement into a for-profit machine. One of the biggest names in the business is Middle Seat, a self-described visionary, persuasive, disruptive, and dynamic digital firm that's built its empire branding establishment politicians as grassroots crusaders. Their website showcases glossy ad reels and testimonials celebrating their progressive clients and reads like a leftist wish list: racial justice, climate action, immigration rights, intersectional feminism. The branding is perfect. The business model is cynical genius, raking in a whopping $134 million since 2017. At the top of their portfolio is John Fetterman. Middle Seat's site features multiple campaign videos. They're very, very proud of John Fetterman, of the Pennsylvania senator, portraying him as a blue-collar hero standing up to the system. The problem is, once the cameras stopped rolling, Fetterman stood with the very system he claimed to fight, making what appeared to be a sharp right turn to his supporters, but not surprising to those of us familiar with Fetterman's record. Middle Seat's growing client list raises serious questions. 1, do they vet their clients? Are they critical about who they sell their branding to? Or do they simply offer it to anyone seeking a veneer of leftist populism? The firm claims to be a full-service media and fundraising firm for progressive causes and candidates, implying that its work is guided by shared values. Its website even boasts, "We bring our values to work, and we build movements that honor the authentic perspective of our clients." But do they? The firm doesn't just build websites and film ads and profit from selling supporter lists to political clients. And I'll explain to you guys in a few minutes what that is. Firms like Middle Seat build myths. They provide a costume and a template for candidates to cosplay as populist change makers, even when their records tell another story. A major part of that grift comes from what's known in the industry as list acquisition. They'll buy the buying, selling, and repackaging of supporter data. So you guys can think about any kind of social media or anything that we sign up to. We know that data and consumer information, our emails, our phone numbers, all of that is big money. And political consulting is no exception. Campaigns pay Middle Seat to collect email addresses and donor information, often built with information from everyday people who maybe sign up for political events, petitions. If you sign up for a campaign website or you donate, those same lists are then from one candidate that they have. For instance, Justice Democrats is one of their clients, one of their first clients, and Justice Democrats candidates then became clients of Middle Seat as well. So when you sign up for all these different things, your email is going to, your email can go to Middle Seat themselves, and then they can sell or rent those lists out to another candidate or to another PAC or another organization. So you could sign up for the PAC ran by AOC, and then all of a sudden MoveOn.org or the DNC has your email address because they've now paid Middle Seat $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 for access to those lists. And that's how this happens. AOC, for instance, paid in more than $2.9 million into buying lists. John Fetterman paid in $1.9 million just for list acquisition. This is just buying names so that they can do this fundraising machine where they'll buy these lists off Middle Seat, and then they'll fundraise off of those lists and then buy another list, fundraise off that list. But they've spent the money that they're getting from donors, and it's going right back into a consulting firm like Middle Seat. It's like a circular washing machine for campaign finance money. And think about it. A lot of this money are small dollar contributions from you guys for candidates that you think you believe in because you want to see change, you want to fight the fascism, but that money is just cycling right back in. If you could pull up that graphic for me, Colin, from the article. So the top 10 clients for middle seat: Fetterman from Pennsylvania, 20.7 million. Beto. So Beto was one of their very first candidates that middle seat ever launched. And when you factor in his PAC, Powered by the People, and a couple other PACs that political action committees, and all of this is according to federal elections data that I pulled from federal elections reports. So Beto paid in 18 million directly from his campaign, and more than 36 million total when you include the PACs, the political action committees that he ran. Katie Porter, which has been embroiled now for, how she treats her staff and some of her behaviors. Her House and Senate races, she paid in more than 10.8 million. AOC, 8.6 million. Leaders We Deserve PAC, which is the new PAC from David Hogg. So David Hogg was co-vice chair of the DNC. He's saying now he's going to challenge all these insurgent candidates, right? Similar to what Brand New Congress or Justice Democrats did in the past. Insurgent candidates to then take on the establishment and unseat incumbents, which sounds really great. But now I'm looking at it a little bit side-eyed because Leaders We Deserve PAC has now paid this same organization, middle seat, that left Wash's candidates $7.6 million for advertising and marketing for their PAC. In total, this $134 million that we've given candidates, many people out there have given candidates for donations, small dollar donations, to help them get elected. This could be used for community organizing. This could be used to aid in general strikes. This could be used for so many other things, for actually campaigning, for supporting independent candidates, for building a third party. But instead, it's getting piped back into the political machine. Now, I wanted to talk just a little bit about John Fetterman's record. Like I said, this consulting firm is bragging about how much. I don't know if you have that picture, Colin, if you could pull it up from that video that's in my article that I took from Middle Seat, where John Fetterman says, "I'm a different kind of Democrat." Yeah, that's it. I'm a different kind of Democrat. That's the way that they boasted about John Fetterman when he was running, and this is still up on their website. They're still bragging about how John Fetterman was an amazing progressive candidate and how wonderful it is that he won this seat in the Senate. And I get it. Dr. Oz sucks. He was a horrible candidate. He was a right-winger. But when you have John Fetterman voting in line with the Republicans every step he makes, that's problematic. I mean, John Fetterman, for instance, some of the problems with John Fetterman's campaign, and I'm trying to look. Do you have where I do the rundown, Colin, of John Fetterman in that article? I'm trying to find it here real quick. Oh, yeah, here we go. This week, as Democrats attempted a government shutdown maneuver to protect healthcare, SNAP, and other social safety net programs, Fetterman broke ranks and voted in line with the GOP. So he voted against the government shutdown, which, I have my issues with the Democrats. We talk openly about issues of criticizing both parties here on Status Coup on a regular basis. But this was one of the first time that they had ever really stood up in any kind of real way against this administration. And John Fetterman voted in line with the GOP. It's part of a pattern that has infuriated Democratic Party loyalists and grassroots supporters alike. Recently, he also demonized anti-ICE protesters and migrants in a post that supported mass deportation and ICE. This month, Fetterman became the only Democrat to vote against blocking Trump's drone strikes in Venezuelan boats in the Caribbean. And then Trump comes out, and we covered it today. What did Trump say? Trump says he's just going to kill people. Extrajudicial murder. He also voted in support of Israel's bombardment of Iran, openly dehumanized Palestinian people, and has been outspoken in defending unwavering U.S. support for Israel's military, including opposing the Leahy Law, which prohibits U.S. aid to governments credibly accused of human rights abuses. So, Fetterman was also bolstered and put into office by millions and millions from the Israel lobby, including organizations like AIPAC. That's a major, that was a major bulwark within his campaign that helped get him elected. So I'm not surprised that he has been one of the most pro-genocidal representatives we've had in Congress. Fetterman's voting record does not just betray the progressive principles he carried. That's a lot of P's. Fetterman's voting record does not just betray the progressive principles he campaigned on, it exposes how political marketing can completely override political reality, turning the hopes of struggling people into the cash cow. The problem isn't just branding, it's what the branding preys on. Middle Seat and firms like it build their business on genuine pain of working class Americans. Their fundraising scripts tap into housing insecurity, medical debt, and collapsing wages, real crises that millions of people face daily. A CBS News report this year, and this is a lot of things that we cover here on Status Coup, a CBS News report this year found 59% of Americans cannot afford a $1,000 emergency expense. A Politico analysis found that the real underemployment rate is at 27%. And yet, while those same voters are having to choose between food on the table and paying rent, they're being flooded with fundraising appeals written by professional firms promising to fight for you. These appeals rake in millions in small dollar donations, but much of that money cycles back into the consulting industry itself. Representative Alexandria Ocasio, for example, she raised more than $20 million this year alone. So $20 million, like the highest, she's gotten the highest amount of donations from any member of Congress this year, in part because her and Bernie were out there doing the AOC Broligarchy, or the AOC anti-oligarchy tour, which I appreciated the people they brought out. But the next question I had is, what are you going to do with this funds? And what is the call to action? And how are you actually organizing this into anything? For people like me from places like Appalachian across the country who come from generational poverty, authenticity is not branding, it's survival. When necessities like healthcare, stable housing, good paying jobs, or pipe dreams, Middle Seat's grift is not just out of touch, it's a form of gaslighting that never delivers results. This is why Middle Seat's model feels like betrayal. It takes the language of struggle born in real kitchens, picket lines, and shelters, and turns it into a commodity. Now, is that the end of the article? I think it is. Oh, okay. John Fetterman is just the latest proof. The man who once sold himself as a different kind of Democrat has become a symbol of the old kind, the kind who talks like a populist, votes like a corporatist, and cashes the checks in between. Consulting firms like Middle Seat turned conviction into content, outrage into email copy, and our very real struggles into fodder for profit. Its story is a mirror for modern corporatized politics where our desperation for change and revolutionary energy is exploited, watered down, and repackaged into hundreds and millions in revenue. I mean, they are making the bank, you guys. And a pipeline fed directly back into the Democratic Party establishment. Middle Seat didn't invent the grift, it perfected it. So to wrap this up, I'll just say that the people that established Middle Seat, the founders of Middle Seat, were former Bernie Sanders staffers. So they've taken the Bernie Sanders model and are using it to left wash or progressive wash candidates like John Fetterman, who aren't even progressive at all. John Fetterman isn't the only one. They J Street was one of their clients, and the Biden Victory Fund. So the Biden Victory Fund utilized middle seat in order to give the Biden campaign a progressive aesthetic or a leftist aesthetic. And this is problematic because it's essentially lying to us. It's campaign dollars that are being funneled into a consulting firm that then turns around and creates this mythology. So it's really important to research who your candidates are. I know that we are facing fascism. I know what the GOP is doing is abhorrent, but it's not going to help us if we keep getting Fetterman over and over again. So it is important that we keep our eyes open and that we realize that these consulting firm machines are there. They're making big bucks, and they're preying off of our desperation in this moment right now that we need healthcare, we need housing, we need to fight this fascism, we need to stop ICE, and pay attention to who they're promoting and hold their feet to the fire. Even if you vote for them, regardless, hold their feet to the fire. We don't need more Fettermans, Kristen Sinemas, and Joe Manchins that are always voting in line with whatever the GOP does. If and I'm not saying we as in Democrats, I'm saying we as a people, because I myself am independent. We as a people don't really have, there's not really a strong party that is challenging what is happening right now with the GOP. The establishment is a big tent, and it includes both parties. So we even see here that in the quote unquote progressive wing, that Bernie energy from the Bernie movement is funneled into a massive cash cow. But you can check this full article out, which I go into a lot more detail about the expenditures, who founded it, and even Fetterman's record on Substack.com or at Bullhorn Bulletin Substack, and the link will be in the description. And do we have any super chats or anything, Colin, that we need to read off today? Tony D. Hey, Tony. Hey, Jordan and Zainab. JT is fantastic. New reporter. News about ICE in my area in Chicago makes me so sad. I'm so sorry. They offered me some. They offed someone. I had heard that someone had been killed I didn't realize that was in Chicago. I'm so sorry, Tony. Nadia Yvette Chambers says, I fled before 20 January. In the 80s, people were still fleeing Pinochet and Vidalia and is that Figueiredo? I learned that it's just what I have to do in Berlin now. I'm so sorry, Nadia. Thank you so much. 2019 Yak became a new YouTube member. Jeff became a YouTube member. Thank you so much, Jeff. And also, if you guys want to help out, becoming a YouTube member is fantastic. You can also go to StatusCoup.com/join as well and become a paid member. And then all of those funds go directly to Status Coup instead of to the alphabet. So Nadia also writes, America exceptionalism to think it couldn't happen here is risky because people will wait too long when it's time to run, but being Cassandra is dangerous too. Yeah, I agree. The American exceptionalism is part of why people in this region sit on their laurels for way too long, because they do believe that we're above it, that it can't happen here. We've been so isolated from what's happened in the rest of the world. The backbench of faux lefties is dozen deep and may go all the way down. It sounds like Gladio got corporatized for the one-way cordon sanitaire. Okay. There are a lot of faux lefties or a lot of faux progressives. That's part of politics, is creating that veneer, that theater, doing the advertising, doing the marketing. I get that. but we also have to know where our dollars are going when we're donating to these campaigns. There's no reason that AOC should have paid in $8.9 million to this consulting firm. She's pretty secure in her seat. She can run, and she could be getting, for instance, her campaigns and local people to do this instead of a national firm. And also that's a lot of money. So that $20 million she got, imagine what that could do to, as I had said, support union organizing, support boots on the ground, support food banks, support boycotts, support things that can move us besides just electoral. Part of electoral organizing also includes on the ground community organizing. And when millions and millions are being spent, 134 million for this firm to be exact, that's not happening. It is political consulting is a massive grift. It's a massive grift. And it is that $134 million that they have made are all donations that whatever organizations that they're paying, whether they be a political action committee or a campaign, has gotten from the people. So, all right. I think that does that wrap us up there, Colin?
Yep, that was the last of it.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Remember, if you can, help us out at Status Coup, statuscoup.com/join and become a member. See you guys later.